So we are raw and restless. We're wind scorned, cliffs rolling, peat, and constant pull of the sea.
That's poetic.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you come up with that on your own, or is that from the distillery? Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2026, a year where at the Noble Dram, we're saying sky is the limit. So tonight, we have something fun. Gavin, care to introduce our guest?
Yes, so we have a very special guest with us tonight. Or today, I guess. No, he may not be a master distiller, and he may not be a brand ambassador, but he may have been very influential to one of us up here and helped navigate one of us through life. No, not me, but this gentleman, this wee lad over here.
I don't know if you're picking up on it on the camera or not. But...
So tonight we have Mr. Tom. Yes, the dad, right? We've mentioned dad on a few episodes, so we get to meet and drink with Dad tonight. So, Tom, thank you for being here with us.
Well, listen, it's been looking forward to it. Thank you.
I kind of felt like we should have gone back through the past episodes, make sure we hadn't said anything hateful about Dad before we brought him on. But
I've got some notes.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Not only is today New Year's Day. We hope you're slowly recovering from yesterday's festivities. We wanted to do something a little different. So yes, Dad's here with us tonight. As well as we're doing something we don't normally do. Tonight is a blind tasting. Unfortunately, not blind for both Gavin and I. This is just blind for Dad. Dad is absolutely flying blind. We did tell him he was going to be on the episode, so at least he knew that he was
He's
going to be.
not walking in blind.
Yeah, not completely blind. But the premise of tonight, Gavin and I have picked two bottles that we think, one, that we think Dad will enjoy, two, that we feel are fitting to the theme of New Year's for the Noble Dram. And we're going to let Dad taste them blind as we talk through a little bit about whiskey clubs, or I should say tasting clubs for those that are perhaps not as whiskey loving as we are. What they are, how they work, what we gain out of them. Dad happens to run a pretty substantial one back home. Was a precursor to the group we have on our back patio. So we're going to talk a little bit about all that tonight. But as with every episode, we have started it empty-handed, and I need Gavin to fix that.
All right, here we go, folks. Are we ready? All right. So I'm going to take one by one. Tom, if you don't mind passing that one down for us.
Oh, I was going to give... You want the big one, Dad? Gavin tends to pour big, and I you're old, and I don't want you to drink too much.
He's not old.
Fall down and break a hip or something.
He's a wee lad.
You can't taste very many and pour each one of them very big. There's a value in pouring small.
That I couldn't disagree with that.
No,
but I disagree every time we get together.
Yeah, no, it's every... there's something really misleading about a Glencairn glass that doesn't look like very much in it. And so you pour, and you think, that's still not very much in there. And then you turn and look at it from the side, and you're like, oh, there's a lot more in there than I thought.
Yeah,
all right,
that's very fair.
Without revealing what's in the glass, tell us a little bit about what's in the glass.
And in fact, just in case Mr. Tom decided he's going to take a little peek into my notes, I actually scratched it out here.
Yeah,
so.
I have no name for my bottle either. We've tried to keep this very secretive.
All right, so on this one, we are about 45.8 ABV.
Okay.
So for those out there doing the math, 91.6 proof.
I like the way you make it math easy for everybody.
You're
Appreciate that.
Yeah. 0.6.
I'll speak on behalf of the audience out there. Thank you, Gavin.
You're welcome. We are 18 years old on this one.
Okay.
So we can vote.
You used to be able to buy cigarettes in Texas, but not anymore. They changed that law.
So when you turned 18, did you have to sign up for the draft, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get a razor in the mail?
No.
Yeah, I got a razor in the mail.
It didn't take, did it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, folks. This one is ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks.
Okay. Yeah, I can pick up a little bit out on the notes.
Without revealing what it is quite yet, right? I'm going to go into a little bit. I'm going to describe the region where this whiskey comes from.
Okay.
All right. The land is raw and restless. Wind scorned, cliffs, rolling peat, and constant pool of the sea.
You say pool or pull?
Pull.
Like
P-U-L-L.
We had this whole debate like a week ago about using pool and pull. Evidently, there's parts of the country that say it different than I did.
Creek and crick.
Who knew?
Creek and crick and pecan and pecan.
Like potato and tater.
And caramel and caramel. We've
get there.
We've had a lot of those on the show already. In this glass, we're gonna find maybe a little salt air, smoke, spice. Help shape this whiskey.
All right, stop telling me what I'm supposed to be doing.
All right, sorry.
Let us explore this.
You may not find any of this. Maybe I'm just joking.
just to throw us off.
Yeah, throw your sins
off. It's a
off.
Totally different whiskey. I'm just trying to make you guys look silly. All right, so in tradition for how we do these, I'm pretty sure Dad's seen an episode or two.
I sure hope so.
I don't think it's just Mom watching. So the norm is we pour a glass, we sit, sip, sniff, savor, and while that we talk. The theme of tonight is tasting clubs. So I wanted to touch a little bit on, well, first off, what is a tasting club, right? So tasting club in its truest sense is just a group of people who get together and try something, right? Whatever that is. Beer, wine, whiskey, clear liquors, I guess you could.
Who does that?
That's weird to me, but whatever. And then it's the idea to explore, let your palate expand a little bit, and just kind of enjoy friendship, camaraderie, that kind of stuff. Gavin and I were talking about this earlier in the week, and we were discussing that these kind of fall into a range. On one end of the spectrum is what probably would best describe our Thursdays on the back patio, which is a social conversation event. Our club is much more about guys getting together and just relaxing, hanging out, having a good time, and sharing whiskeys. There is nothing formal about our Thursdays on the patio. Informal might even be a little bit higher of a description than really what it is. On the far end of the spectrum is what we would deem like a formal education. Think lecture, where you go sit in a room, you've got whiskey set up before you, somebody at the front of the room is giving you information, walking you through this, and you provide no feedback at all. You're just there along for the ride listening. You have a club, you have a group that gets together on a regular basis. On the spectrum from social conversation to formal education, where does your group fall?
We're really a social group, but when we present a new whiskey, we spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about the whiskey, the distillery, the process, what makes this distillery either unique or different. And we like to touch on things like marketing and the bootlegging days and the tax evasion days. So I'd have to say we have a good chunk of education in there, but it's primarily social.
So it's chatting with spurts of educational?
Yes.
Gavin and I like to call them with little nuggets of knowledge thrown in.
I find those nuggets to be very interesting conversation starters, particularly when it comes to taxation and law enforcement and et cetera.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. So for those in the background, there appears to be some sort of police activity in the area. I don't think it's for one of us, but just in case, would you hold this? So,
Can you hide your contraband real quickly?
There's a lot of it in here.
give us a quick overview of your group. First, what's the group's called?
The
Or the
group,
new group name, sorry.
the group's name is Brothers in Barley, and we intentionally named it that because it was not gender bias, but it was a brotherhood. It was supporting each other. It was a social group to start with. And people, because we'd never had a Scotch club before, people would say, well, what is a Scotch club? And I'd say, well, a Scotch club is exactly like a book club, only there's no books and they're Scotch. But other than that, they're exactly the same.
Sounds like the best book club is a book club with Scotch.
Yes.
If we read books about Scotch,
We wouldn't
this would
let
be
you,
the best combination.
we wouldn't let
So,
you talk
no.
about it during club.
Not too dissimilar. So my wife being a wine girl, she wanted a book club, but she created a book club that they only read books that have something to do with wine, and then they just drink wine when they're at book club, which I pointed out makes it a wine club, and she said, no, that's totally different. So I guess whatever brings all of your passions together, right?
Fair point.
So your group, give those at home kind of a sense of how big is the group, how often do you meet, that kind of stuff. Maybe start with how many guys are we talking about?
There's probably 30 or 40 guys on the list to get invited every meeting. They're mostly my age and have professional, family, business obligations. We usually have somewhere around 6 to 10 people show up on a meeting. We meet on the first Saturday evening of each month, and that way, long term in advance, we try to adhere tightly to that schedule, no matter what, so people know when it's going to be.
Okay. So you guys are once a month.
Mm-hmm.
About a third of the people you invite show up. That seems pretty indicative of about all the groups I've been in.
Maybe less than that.
So when you guys sit down and try to decide what are we going to taste, what's the thought process that goes in? Do you have a selection group? Is it one guy? Is it just you? Everyone else is along for the ride.
We got the captain right here.
I'm the only one that decides, so surprise, surprise, I tend to pick things I like.
That's a pretty good way of thinking about it.
So long as you like what you like,
That's right.
it's a pretty fun club. So is there a cost?
We have been charging $30 per month dues to the club, and you waive your dues on the months you don't show up. So it costs $30. And when we first started, we were doing $60 and $80 bottles, and that was covering the cost. And since that time, our taste has increased, and the prices of things have gone up considerably. And my wife said, "Don't you think you ought to raise?" And I said, "Well, really, it's kind of like me hosting a gathering. It's not like it's a business or anything." So we, at least yet, we haven't raised the dues from $30 a month.
So, all right. So, but guys are not required to bring bottles with them.
On occasion they do. Several people have brought several bottles. But what they are, we have a formal time when we meet and discuss and keep track with notes. And then we have an informal time when you can smoke cigars on the back patio. And everybody is invited to bring a snack for that break time. And if you want a snack, you're welcome to bring anything you want. And if you're not big into snacks, it's really the snacks are as they are.
Does anybody bring lemon pound cake?
No.
I'm totally stealing Kevin's because I saw his face light up and I was like, I'm not going to let him have this.
We've had all sorts of Scottish dishes, Scotch eggs, and all sorts of haggis-like things, and nobody's brought a lemon pound cake.
Well, we're gonna have to fix that.
Gavin would tell you you've been missing out.
Yeah. I
So
would love to hear your group's take on lemon pound cake
Well, that
pairing
would,
with Scotch.
that would be easy to do. I mean, because
All you need is a lemon pound cake.
we get
Yeah, you got the
enormous,
Scotch. You just gotta get the lemon
we
pound
get
cake.
enormous feedback every time from the snacks.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
All right, so I want to delve a little bit into what's in the glass.
Yes.
We're gonna make Dag go first.
Yep.
It's only fair. He didn't have to do any of the research, any of the prep work. He just shows up and gets to be the celebrity guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That's what being the old guy.
I don't see what you're.
Let the youngsters do the
So
work.
the reason I say we have to get to it is
'Cause you're on
I'm
the
about out. I'm really enjoying this one. All right, so start with the nose.
A little peat, a strong sherry influence, some brine. I think there's two ways to rate a Scotch. One is how good do you think it is compared to other Scotches, and the other is how much do you personally like it. I'm going to give this one high marks on both accounts. This is an excellent nose.
Yeah, I don't think you put your nose in this glass and don't come back saying there's peat in this one, right?
Yeah.
Like peat's probably the biggest one. You kind of said there's light peat and then there's big sherry notes. I'd have gone the other way around. I think there's a little more peat on the nose than sherry. You kind of got to get through the peat to the sherry. One of the things I have to remind myself as a guy who likes a peated whiskey is it's very easy to notice the peat, then move on. And other people who don't drink peated whiskeys are so overwhelmed by the peat they never can move on. So yeah, I think there's sherry in there. I think there's actually a really light sweetness. I want to say a citrusy kind of note to it, but a sweeter citrus, like more like lemonade, not like lemons themselves.
Ooh,
right?
okay. All right.
I think there's a light sweetness to this on the nose that becomes more pronounced on the palate. But Gavin, what's your thoughts?
All right, so I also put citrus. I think that there is a bit of that butterscotch toffee once you get past that smoky peatiness to it. I also wrote seaweed. I think there's a bit of seaweed brininess to it as well.
Yeah. I think I don't want to steal your thunder, but I think the brininess becomes much more pronounced on the palate than it was on the nose. It's light on the nose.
Yep.
It comes in spades on the palate.
There's a term used in the tasting of medicinal iodine, seaweed, brine, and I see them used almost interchangeably. And I think, well, they're not interchangeable. You can't say iodine is the same as seaweed, but you see the terms almost used interchangeably.
Yeah, on the palate, kind of where are you sitting on the palate?
Some of that same orange citrus, dried fruit, plum, fig kind of raisiny stuff, sweetness, sherry influence. After you've taken a sip, you literally 30, 40 seconds later, you're still going. That's
We forgot to warn Dad not to smack on the microphones. So for those out there that have an ASMR issue, terribly sorry.
I'll do it with you.
I'm with you in the fact that there are a lot of sweeter, fruitier notes that show up. I think the brininess really carries through, almost to the point, like when we start ranking out like biggest flavors to smallest flavors, right? We often skip over peat. I actually think briny replaces peat on the palate to me. I think the salty sea kind of notes show up in a much more prominent way than the peat. And I'd almost say that the sweetness starts to run right up even with the peat too on the palate.
Okay.
I'm not saying it doesn't settle out a little different on the finish, but on the palate, I think there's a lot of sweetness in here and a lot of saltiness. And it reminds me a little bit of like a salted caramel.
it's a little drying on the tongue, and I think that accentuates the sweetness.
So I agree with you. I put roasted toffee. So it's almost like it's, you know, you got that toffee, you get that sea salt. I I think it carries a lot of the same characteristics that we were talking about on the nose. I think that there is a rich, sweet, creamy warmth that comes from this on the palate.
I got no complaints with anything you said. I don't like the tone in which you said it, but everything you said, though, I agree with.
That part of your taste that is chocolate, leather, tobacco, there's a little bit of that in there too. Not too much, but it's a good part.
So yeah, not old baseball glove.
Agreed.
Not that kind of leatheriness. Almost like a brand new wallet, like that kind of new leather.
I was gonna say, like my tobacco pouch, leather pouch.
Oh yeah, like both together.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It's more like going into a leather goods store and a smoke walk-in humidor than it is putting it in your mouth.
Yeah,
it's
I get it.
the nose is driving the flavor.
Yeah. So, do you think the finish mimics the palate or mimics the nose, or does it completely run in a different direction here?
I'd say pretty consistent. What I get on my finish is that lingering sherry influenced sweetness that's really one of the things I look for in a Scotch like this. This is good.
I'll say the finish is long, right? Maybe not extra long, but certainly not medium or short, right? It's a long finish, and it changes over time. To me, some of the various toffee influences and stuff start to fade pretty quick, and I'm left with like smoked fruits. Like I start thinking like grilled fruits.
Oh, okay.
Like if you've ever had a dish that was like a pork chop with grilled peaches, like that kind of stuff is really the end of that finish, turns smokier and turns back into those fruit notes to me.
That's an excellent observation.
Yeah, I really like that. So what I put, I'm a very visual person, so I wrote out it's like a sailor on the North Sea smoking a tobacco pipe.
I don't know how you know what a sailor on the North Sea tastes like, but
Tastes like this. That's what this tastes like.
all right, well, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to drink this instead of the sailor. All right, so the time comes where we have to do scores. And it dawned on me, Gavin and I have been giving scores for a long time. But Dad, this is your first time giving a score. So I thought it was important to give you a rundown of where the scores come from and what those ranges mean. So anything under a 60 is undrinkable.
You wouldn't feed it to your cat.
You'd use it to remove paint from your...
Somebody else's cake.
So
I'm not a cat lover either.
So 50s and below, undrinkable swill. 60s to 70s. If you bought a bottle for me, if you bought a glass of it for me, I wouldn't insult you by saying no, but that's about the only time I would drink it. The 70s are in the range of, hey, it's fun to try, it's something different. I might have a glass somewhere, but I don't necessarily need to own a bottle, right? We've moved from, I wouldn't drink it even if somebody else paid. I'd drink it if somebody else would pay. I'd only drink it if it was on special or I was just getting a glass. 80s are the wheelhouse of, man, I could own a bottle. I gotta be curious what that cost, because next time I'm at the store, I might look that one up. The 90s go into the bottles that I want because that feels special occasion-esque. And then I'll say the upper 90s, that my family will find out I owned a bottle after my demise when they're going through my possessions because nobody knew I had that one. That's how good it was. I'll be honest, 95 and above is an absolute rarity to find.
It's hard to hit perfection.
Mostly because Gavin and I, when we first started doing this, we discussed that everyone else's is like everything scores between a 90 and a 95. And so ultimately what they were telling you is there's a 5-point range, right? Which is when you run out across 100, those are 20-point jumps, right? Gavin also said that we can't do anything more. Gavin wanted a 10-point system, because there was no reason to go anything more detailed than that. Then the other day, he was out of 100, he was giving me decimal points. So you can get as detailed as you want on this one if you'd like. But given that point scoring system, this 18-year pull of the sea single malt Scotch, where do you put this one?
I'd definitely buy this one.
Okay.
In fact, I would feel amiss if I didn't have this in my collection. I tend to lean hard towards the heavily peated, so it probably wouldn't be 95 or above, but I'm going to say 90 or 91, 92 maybe. 90. Let's 91.
We don't.
90, 91.
You're not guessing our answer.
hairs.
You have to give yours. 91?
91.
A 91. That's a solid score.
It is
That's a solid
score.
I like
So, for me, this is Gavin's bottle, so I'll go good.
Yep.
I'll say I like this one. It's well-rounded. I happen to know what this is, which helps, so I have an idea of how much the bottle cost and those kinds of things. But I'll say this is certainly upper 80s for me. I don't know as if I go 90, because I could absolutely see this being a relatively daily drinker, right? This isn't I just had a kid, or I graduated from wherever, or I got a promotion at work. Like, this doesn't feel celebratory quite. But just because I know I can go into most stores and I can buy another bottle of this, right? There's something about a bottle being exclusive that kind of helps its pointing. And I understand that's
Bougie.
a little silly
Yeah.
to use that. But so I'm at an 87. A really, really solid pour. I would be sad to see, well, there will be a day where this bottle ends. And I will be sad to see that day come. We'll have to replace it at that point. Gavin, how about yourself?
You said you would buy it then.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely buy another one.
Okay, I thought you said that the 90s is where you'd buy it.
No, 80s is a buyer.
Oh, might not. Okay.
90s is keep to myself.
Okay.
High 90s is you got to pry it out of his cold, hard hands.
Yeah.
I'm setting it right at a 90.
Oh,
So
This was
me and
what-
Tom are right on.
well received all around.
Yes.
I just realized I got to figure out how to put numbers over the top of Dad's head too.
Are we getting ready to say what it is?
You want to guess?
I'm thinking Western Highlands or Island. And
Okay.
probably Northern, because it doesn't taste like Isla peat.
Okay.
So I'm thinking Talisker, Tobermoy, Oban, Highland Park, something in that range. And if it's 18 year, it might even be a Highland Park 18 year.
Ooh.
That was so close.
Oh,
So
man.
close. I shut it down. Show's over. Dad
All right.
guessed it right on the front. No! Or did he?
Did he? Well, let's just see.
The Talisker.
Talisker 18.
Talisker 18. That was a fabulous bottle.
That is.
You're welcome.
So that was actually bought by me because my buddy Andy was so excited about it, and I was like, "All right, let's get it." And I have not been disappointed every time we've opened that up.
It is made by the sea.
I don't think you understand how TV works. You got to keep
I'm
that
sorry.
pointing towards the camera.
sorry.
Come on, man.
Well, and we can also do this.
No, you're fine, guys.
Everybody at home has already seen this.
I-
That's the best part of this,
I
is
don't-
that you're guessing the whole time.
I may have tasted that before, but I don't.
All right.
That's good.
All right. Glasses to the side.
No,
All right.
Can I just set it right there?
Don't go too far forward. Remember, we're trying to keep this on camera. All right, so that means I get to present the next ball. You can leave it sit there. Leave it sit
right,
there. Let people remember.
I can drool over it when I watch it.
Yeah, you can read the back of it.
All right, so the next glass. This one also is a single malt. Let's see here. I tried to give even Gavin pours, so it didn't matter who got which one.
Ooh, for those out there.
Gavin-esque. Now, what I will say is right off the bat, noticeably lighter in color on this one.
Yes.
So this one actually is a relatively new distillery. So this is, the distillery began distilling in 2017.
Oh,
Right? So real new.
real new. Yep.
Their first release hit shelves in 2021. This happens to be the second release of a annual limited release series that they ran that they dubbed the name the Legacy Series, which I thought was funny that the Legacy is in reference to a distillery that just started. But this one comes in at 46.
Kind of like the Noble Dram.
46.
We're a legacy.
Yeah, 46% ABV.
Okay.
They got really nerdy on their website. I was quite excited. This is a mix of both Concerto and is it Laureate barley?
Mm-hmm.
This guy knows his grains, right? So that's why I asked. And then it is a mix of first fill bourbon barrels. So first time they put whiskey in them.
No.
And
First time
they put scotch in them after the bourbon. And refill whiskey cask. They don't say what it is. But this is 80% first fill bourbon,
Okay.
20% previously used, assuming previously held scotch. And where this gets really fun and funky, they actually told us the parts per million for phenols.
Oh.
So the new make Spirit comes off the still at 77 parts per million. The whiskey in our glass comes in at 17 parts per million. It's a sizable drop. One of the things that happens in peated whiskeys in the barrel is the oak barrel soaks up those phenols, that peat flavor. So, in general, the more pronounced the peat flavor, the younger the whiskey. So, take that as you will as we delve into this glass. But while we sip, sniff, and I should say that the other order. Sniff, sip, and savor these. I want to get back to whiskey clubs, or tasting clubs, I should say. It's not fair for just to call them whiskey clubs. So I want to know, Gavin, you and Ed, when you look back at your experience with whiskey clubs, what do you find is the biggest benefit from having been a part of them?
You want to go first, Tom?
He's dribbling water. Why don't you go,
That's
Gavin?
right.
So my biggest benefit, I think, is the exploration, right? I think one, exploring, getting to know your friends, right, or the people that you're in your tasting club with.
Did you just say exploring your friends?
Yeah.
I don't think that translates what you wanted to.
Well, I mean, just getting to know people, right?
Scoot our chairs over. Sorry, we derailed.
I am in this room because
I get it.
you know, you're making me blush. No, I think getting to know people on that level, right? Like, you have friends, and then you have friends that you get to go do clubs with, or explore a hobby together with, and so I think that is a major benefit. And then for me, my whiskey adventures started in Scotch. And I was very intimidated by bourbon, right? I didn't know much about it whenever I really first started getting into whiskey.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Most people have a storyline that runs the exact opposite.
Yeah.
As they were bourbon guys, but
Yep.
they were somehow put off by Scotch. It was too much, too bold, too whatever. So it's funny to hear somebody describe it the other way around.
Exactly. And I wasn't a big whiskey guy until we lived in Scotland. And then when we moved back from Scotland back to the States, that's where I really started opening my eyes really to the bourbon world, or the American whiskey world. And so being a part of a whiskey club has helped guide and shape my palate a little bit so that I can explore. And it's always fun. So our whiskey club that we have here, it's not really, I would say it wasn't guided to be a bottle share, but that's really where it's kind of developed into.
Truth be told, the first Thursday concept was for guys to just come hang out.
Right.
And then the first time we did it, I was like, well, I'll drag a couple bottle of whiskey out on the back patio. So if guys want to have a drink, and then told guys, so we had a couple guys that showed up and said, I didn't bring anything. It's okay. It's not a whiskey club. It's just a hangout for guys. And it has absolutely morphed into a massive whiskey crew on the back patio. And so now I have to keep reminding guys, because I do have a couple buddies, right? You gotta do charity work. I got a couple buddies who are whiskey drinkers. And so you have to remind them, like, it's okay. You don't have, if you want to come and sit on the patio and don't want to drink whiskey, that's fine. If you're not a cigar guy, it's okay. Set up wind of everybody. It'll be all right. We can get through this.
So the club kind of morphing into that has also really opened my eyes and helped me explore different whiskeys because you don't know what they're bringing, right? Like here you can come and you can see and you can pick, but when somebody brings a new bottle that you have no idea what they're bringing, and then you have your opener open the bottle, Andy, and then y'all get to kind of share that bottle. It's enlightening to me, and it's really propelled my whiskey adventures.
It's perhaps the hidden perk of a non-curated tasting night.
100%.
So now you do far more of the curating. In your mind, when you sit down and look at your tasting club over the time you guys have been getting together, you don't get quite the same exploration as the other guys, but yet I think there's probably some of that still, isn't there?
Oh, I'd say that's the second most important benefit I've gotten. First would be just the opportunity to spend more time with friends and making friends. So that social aspect has been the best benefit of having a Scotch club. But on the technical side, I don't have enough liver cells to taste every kind of Scotch that I want to taste if I had to buy a whole bottle for myself. And so if you have 10 or 15 guys that'll help share your bottle, you can taste a whole lot more bottles, or mathematically 17 times as many bottles. So that has, and it's been, when I first started tasting Scotch, I thought the Glenlivets, the feathery, flowery Scotches were what I liked. And then I got into peated, and then the peated became just overwhelmingly the only thing that I liked. And now I can really appreciate a non-peated Scotch. I'm assuming that journey through the tasting maturation process is 15 times faster since I'm sharing with and when I go to pick out something for Scotch Club, I usually look and say, well, that looks like something I would like to explore. We try to do is not too many more than we have to repeats in the same thing, unless it's been enough years ago. Everybody needs to taste it again because it's just been that long.
So for me, I will say pre-delving into whiskey tasting clubs, right? So I've been in a couple of them over the years. It used to be you'd open a bottle and you drink that bottle until it was gone, and then you would open another bottle and you would drink that bottle until it's gone. And then what happened is by the time you got to your third bottle, it had been quite a bit of time since that first bottle, and it was really tough to remember exactly what that first bottle tasted like compared to this one. But by having a club in which you can sit down in one evening, you can sit 3 glasses side by side, sometimes literally on your table, 3 glasses side by side, and you can go back and forth. You really begin to pick up on subtle differences between them, right? Yes, they're both peated whiskeys, but this one is much lighter. This one's a little sweeter. This one's a little more citrusy. Right? You begin to really develop that palate. And that was, to me, the biggest thing to come out of being parts of tasting clubs, is that I went from 1 bottle at a time to now trying multiple glasses in one evening. And that really developed my palate. It has also given me the opportunity, obviously, you said you get exposed to a lot more bottles. I had a similar effect when I first started getting into cigars, and I am by no means a cigar aficionado, but like I am whiskeys. But what I found was, if I found somebody who liked cigars and they said this is one of their favorites, well, then I tried that one, right? It was a much better chance of finding one I liked than just walking into a store and randomly pulling one off of the shelf. Right?
This one looks good.
Same exact thought process when it comes to whiskey, is that when you sit and drink one with somebody and he says he likes that one too, and you're like, I like this one. What other ones do you like? I should try some of those. And that was really the way my palate developed, ultimately turned into the collection developing too, right? And so now when we have conversations and chat with people, and we were at the bottle shop yesterday and a guy comes walking up with a bottle of Oban and he sets it down. I was like, if you like Oban, you know what other one you should try? And he goes, you guys are really good at upselling this. I don't even work here. I'm just making small talk while I'm killing time. So yeah, I think that's really where things have grown for me. So what I've learned in life.
You learned from him?
Yes.
Usually from bad examples.
Sometimes your example is what not to do as opposed to what is best to do. No, so everything that has a upside also has a potential downside. So for those who either aren't in a tasting club and want to join one, or those who have a couple buddies who like to drink whiskey and they're like, we should formalize this into a tasting club. What are some of the pitfalls as you set up your club that you stumbled into that you had to figure out a way around? Whether it was logistical, picking dates, how do you set price? What happens if somebody is a little heavy-handed on every one of their pours? What are some of those things? Don't mention names. They might be watching. I'm going to say Dave. It's an arbitrary name, Dave. We know we're talking about you.
Since we have a number of Daves in our club, that's why not a good pick. Harold.
No.
Harold would be a better name.
No, the reason I picked Dave is so when we went to Scotland, I got to tag along with Dad's Brothers in Barley group when they went to Scotland, and so I got to meet and hang out with a lot of guys. There were several Daves on the trip. So Dave, you know what I'm talking about. So seriously, are there things, if somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a tasting club, what are some of the things you warn them about or give them heads up on?
I was assuming the number one issue would be not safe to get yourself home after the club. And that has turned out to be, some of our members are retired law enforcement, some had jobs where a DUI would ruin their job or they'd lose their pilot's license or whatever else. So that has really turned out to be a minimal problem. But if I was going to give a word of advice, if you have, and maybe we've had 2 or 3 minor incidents, is we kind of have designated pourers. So if you're
right.
like, and I'm one of them, I have my wife do my pours for the official, and they're small. And then I usually have somebody in the group that says for the informal time afterwards, when we just help ourselves to the bar, I say, well, pour me this, but don't pour me more than this, and that way, because it really doesn't do you any good to taste 6 scotches if you can't remember what they tasted like. So that has turned out to be a small and manageable problem. We've had a small number of people who looked at the Scotch Club as wait a minute, you're telling me it's an all-you-can-drink Scotch fest for $30 and no attention to what it tasted like, and you just kind of have to discourage that at every opportunity. But I keep repeating that the purpose of this is friends and fun. The fine Scotch is the 3rd highest priority. So if you're having Scotch with friends, that's one thing. If you're thinking this is a all-you-can-drink Scotch for $30, like a smorgasbord at a Chinese restaurant or whatever, that doesn't work out.
Chinese buffet of Scotch.
Oh man, actually, there's not one far from here that's got a really good whiskey.
There's an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet with Scotch.
What's that?
You cannot believe I haven't found that place yet.
I've been with you.
Yeah, but I don't think it was all-you-can-drink Scotch.
I don't think so either. Yeah. But they got to do.
We're going to introduce that one today.
Yeah. So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm going to speak for my wife here. My problem, or the biggest problem from being a part of a whiskey group like ours, is my pocketbook. That is That is by far the negative side, because now after having an evening over here, it's like, oh, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. I know a guy who can get me almost every single one of them, and it's like,
I will say, introducing Kaiser, who owns our local bottle shop, to our whiskey tasting has cost me a pretty penny. Because on the patio, somebody...
Nothing personal, Kaiser.
No. Love Kaiser to death. That's not where I'm going with it. No, but what tends to happen is somebody brings a bottle over and you sit on the patio and you take several sips and you're like, that's really good. Kaiser, get me one of those, right? It's
and Kaiser's like, all right.
It is the bottle equivalent of the buy it now button on Amazon.
Yeah.
Where in one sentence, I can have a bottle on order and he'll text me 2 days later and said, it's here, come by and pick it up. And I was like, oh, hell, I got to go buy it. Yeah, so I will say we also had a couple of guys who were heavy-handed. Even worse than Gavin. And so we have one guy who brings a little jigger and he measures every pour that he takes. I've always found it funny. He pours significantly more than anybody else, but he just uses a jigger to measure it before he does. So, I would say the lion's share, the guys who show up on the back patio are either in the neighborhood or have Ubered in some way, shape, or ride shared in general to get here, to get home safe. We've had more than one guy have a wife come pick him up. I did have to implement, because mine is far more casual. There is not a set start time. There is not a set end time, because we ultimately have no structure to the night. You just come and hang out. And so I finally had to say, nobody can show up after 11 o'clock. I'm not saying you have to leave by 11, but if you show up at 11:05, you missed it. Go home. Yes, we've had more than one night that turned into morning by the time everybody headed out. So
Sorry.
Sorry. One of the multitude of perks of the job that I have is that if I go in a little late on Friday, nobody gets too mad at me. That's probably the other aspect of it that just, I mean, when your group is built around fun and fellowship and friendship, like it tends to get carried away and run a little long. It's quite a ride in my book, but I understand where that can be a bit much for some people, especially if you have small children that got to get up the next morning and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
All right, so we've talked a lot. It's time to delve back into this glass.
Yes.
Tom, on the nose, you should say peat.
The first thing you notice is peat. The second thing you notice is peat. The third thing you notice is peat.
All right, but what else is in that glass?
There is a little grain, not too much. I think that's a longer fermentation time, but that's a wonderful peat. The southern peats tend to be more creosote, tarry, kerosene kind of peats. This is a more grassy peat, and I don't know if it's because it was more of the way they barreled it or the way they distilled it, but it is a very, very sweet peat. There's a little moss in there, but there's some grass peat in there also, and the peat is what comes through on the nose. I'm not getting much else on the nose except for the peat. But it's nice peat.
You did a lot of nodding on that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're going to say ditto, ditto, ditto.
Yeah, I got a lot of...
For peat.
Yeah, peat. Peat.
Peat, and repeat. We're standing on a cliff. Never mind.
I wrote medicinal. I think there's a bit of a plum note in there.
Interesting.
I wrote hay.
On the nose?
On the nose. Very visual. I said Highland Coo, and then when you started talking, I wrote rainy Scottish farm.
Yeah.
Like
wet hay.
Yep. All over the nose.
You said grassy peat, right? That all lays together with you. I get tobacco-y notes on the nose.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah.
I will say the only other part that I would add to what you guys said is this smells like an ocean breeze in Scotland.
Ooh, yep.
Right? This smells exactly like I remember Islay as an island smelling like. There was the cool ocean breeze. There was a smell of smoke and peat coming off of various, like every distillery we visited reminded me of this. I'm not using that as an indication as to where this whiskey might be from or not be from. Take that as you will. All right, but does it stay the same on the palate to you, or does it change?
It's a little different. The palate actually has a little more cereal, like a sweet bread added to it, vanilla, strong, maybe a little butterscotch, not too much. That smoke and that peat and the sweetness of the peat carry through on the palate. This is excellent, and my preference is usually for the more creosote kind of peats, but there's what Bemore does with their peat makes it taste less tarry, but it isn't as pleasant. This, whatever they're doing with it, makes it taste less tarry.
Are we guessing already?
No.
What are you doing over there?
No, I don't think it's a Bemore, but whatever they're doing with this one, they're taking some of that harsh kerosene sting out of the peat, but leaving the sweetness.
Okay.
They're doing excellent with this.
You did a lot of nodding again, Gavin.
Yeah, a lot of nodding. So
Come to find out, we don't need both of you on the episode. We're just going to agree to
I'll just
everything.
exit out. You and Dad can take it from here. I
don't think he knows how to finish. We need you to stay.
I wrote sea salt toffee. Like, to me, as you were talking about, like that, what Scotland smelled like off the sea. Like, I felt like that carried through with the palate. Again, smoky. There's some peatiness to it. I think the caramel from maybe the ex-bourbon kind of may filter into that a little bit.
Yeah. So agree with most everything you guys said. The difference is, I think, trying to parcel out palate from finish, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think the finish is significantly different than the palate. The palate was fruitier to me. I think, well, as you swirled it around, I picked up like
Fruitier than what? The nose?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I picked up like tropical kind of fruit notes, like light, like not citrusy fruit, but more like mango, not banana, like not that potassium rich, but like real light kind of sweetness that reminded me of, again, the coast, just not the same coast, right? different coast.
Not tropical coast.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a medicinal note in there. I think you said not tar or not creosote.
You think there's creosote?
I think there's a little creosote. I don't know. I wrote tar, right? And we may be splitting hairs here between creosote and tar. But yeah, I pick up a little bit more of that, and I don't know if it's. I don't know if I picked it up on the first taste. It might be as you've gone through in the finish, and you come back around, right? And you pick up different things the second and third times through. Now, where do you feel this goes on the finish? Are we keeping in line? Is it peat, and then number 4 changes on the finish?
No, I think it's peat on the finish, and what you said about caramel, that sweet peat has a definite caramel flavor even on the finish. The finish on that one was long, and the finish on this one is longer, significantly.
I agree with you. I wrote lingers, sweeter side. So I think I agree with you. Again, I don't know if I need to be here. I think you got this.
You're just here to show him I'm right.
So I will say I think the finish breaks into 3 pieces. I think at the very beginning of the finish, the peat, creosote, medicinal notes are big and bold right at the beginning of the finish. And then there's a moment where that fades away and it turns into the sweet, fruity notes that I picked up on the palate. And then a couple seconds later, that disappears and it just becomes this peat smoke lingering that runs out. That doesn't have the creosote anymore, right? It doesn't have the medicinal note that it did at the beginning. So to me, it's a 3-part finish.
And that lingering part that trails out and becomes more smoky.
It turns into smoke. I think the smoke stays steady. I think just the peat fades until all you can taste is the smoke. So yeah, I think the finish here is much longer than the last finish, and I think it goes through distinct phases on its way through. So that's where I'm at.
I like
This is the part where I get the easy job. I get to pick a number last. You guys have to go first. So,
All right.
Dad,
Let me go first.
yeah, that's the way this works.
I'm
You do the short shot.
going to assume by the peat and the overall admirable character that this is an Isla product, and compared to other Isla products, this, there's Lagavulins and Laphroaigs that I really, really, really love, and Octomores. I'm not sure this meets the same 90 cutoff line. I'm thinking maybe 89.
Okay. Gavin, that makes this your turn.
This is a lovely Scotch. I'm going down in score just a tad bit. I'm going to be sitting at an 86.
86.
Yeah.
So, solid sipper.
Solid sipper.
Solid sipper.
I really like it. I think the sweetness is there, but it's not quite as punchy on the palate like I liked on the Talisker.
Yeah, I think if we're comparing the two, the Talisker was a little richer, a little deeper in its fruit flavor, right? However, knowing how young this one was and all of the stuff going on, I thought this was really impressive. I went all the way up to a 91. I really like this one.
Yeah. Holy Pete!
So, I'm going to give you the chance. You said Isla is where you thought this was from. Do you want to throw a dart at a distillery so I can tell you you're wrong?
I'm going to say upper East Coast, Bunnahabhain, Ardnahoe, Coolila in that line. And since I think this is a different flavor than Coolila, I'm going to say Ardnahoe.
That's a good guess.
That is a really good guess.
It's a really good guess. It's not right, but it's a really, really good guess. This one happens to be a bottle of Torabhaig, the ALLT GLEANN, which is their limited release from 2024.
Where is
Torabhaig.
Where is that?
No, so if you were really paying attention, we totally told you where these were from. Because this is the 2006 New Year's Day.
2026.
2026, sorry. And what did we say the theme of the year is?
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. So Talisker.
There's only one distillery on the island of Skye other than Tobermory.
No, you have Talisker. And you have
and they're both on Skye.
They're both on Skye.
All right.
So yes, tonight was the Isle of Skye.
I've never
Kind of
had
like fireworks, folks.
I've never had that before. That's delicious.
I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those where you get off into listening to other people's podcasts or whatever. And this was one that a group of guys several years ago, when this first came out, had done a tasting on, and they put it in their top 4 whiskeys of the year. And I was like, well, I got to go get it. Yeah. Right? The other stuff they liked, I like too. Right? And this is that kind of how you use your brethren in the whiskey world to decide your next purchase.
Well, the side of the box says well-tempered peat.
Well-tempered.
We both have a friend named Dave that drove across the Skye Bridge, the bridge that takes you from the mainland of Scotland across the island of Skye, and it is quite a ways up in the air. You can drive yachts.
I think the bridge is taller than it is wide. It is not very far.
There it is. There's Dave. One of the Daves.
It was the other Dave. The other Dave knows exactly who he is.
So, did you give your score?
I did, 91. So,
91.
Hold on. So let's recap tonight. On the Talisker, Dad's at a 91. Gavin was at a 90, and I was at an 87.
Yep.
We then flip all of that when we run over to the Torabhaig, where Gavin was at an 86, Dad was at an 89, and I was at 91. So both bottles scored 91s. Both bottles got down into the mid 80s at the bottom end, but overall, well loved by everybody here.
Yeah.
All right, so where are you seeing, Tom Tom?
You made it.
I cannot say this has not been a joy. Or better, I will say this has been a joy.
The gauntlet was thrown, and we reached the end.
Yes.
So
much fun.
So with that, I just want to say Happy New Year's and Happy Hogmanay to those Scottish folks out there. Tom, thank you so much for being here, joining us.
Thank you.
Coming on the show, not knowing really what this was all going to be about. So thank you for trusting us and enjoying this road through Skye. And cheers.
And Solange y'all.
We want to thank you, our noble listener, for joining us.
We believe each whiskey has a story, and so do you. So give us your thoughts by leaving a comment.
And if you have a whiskey you'd like to see us share, let us know.
You don't want to miss a single episode, so subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And make sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stay up to date on the Noble Dram.
And if you find watching us difficult, you can always listen to each episode on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
As always, be noble
And enjoy your dram responsibly.